Afternoon, it's 5:30. We'll start the public forum on Monday the 23rd of February 2026. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is recording this public forum and will be uploading the recording to Council's website. It will also be live streamed. By speaking at this forum, you agree to being recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at public forums you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I have apologies from Councillor Fagan and Councillor Speechley. Would someone like to move that they be accepted?
No, you don't need that.
Don't do that.
You can note them, we don't need a motion.
All righto, thank you. We don't need a motion. Disclosures of interest. Any councillors and staff please indicate in relation to any interest you may to declare in item 4.6. A, what report or item you are declaring an interest in. B, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary. And C, what is the nature of that interest. Yes, it's only that report 4.6. No conflicts. There is a member of the public who has not registered with the General Manager's office. However, as Chair, I will allow them to speak on an item in the agenda. Margaret Tarode will speak on item 4.6. I will call the speaker by name and ask that you introduce yourself and allow time for any councillor or member of staff, if they have declared an interest in the item, to manage that conflict, which may include them leaving the room for your presentation. Each speaker will have a maximum of 5 minutes. I now invite Margaret Tarode, who will speak on item 4.6, Development Application Number 10.2025.122.1, Lot 11 DP 1306817, being 174 Willow Vale Road, Cowra. Garage lodged by D.A. Waters. The property owner is D.A. and B.A. Waters. Hit that button there on the right hand side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did write to the General Manager to say that I'd like, is there anything further I could do to voice my objection. First, I'm Mark Tarode, and as you know, I'm fairly passionate about this person building in my backyard. I wrote and said I'd read the notes and how I was incredibly disappointed with the outcome of what was in the report, i.e. that it was accepted that there were valid reasons, or that the council had decided it was, from what I could gather from the report, that it was going to be allowed for the person, Waters, to build a shed which was above, the height was in fact above regulation. I just wonder, and I do ask you as a council, what's the point of a regulation if somebody can come along and say, well, we want to go above it because we've got a hobby and that's okay. Why don't we just not have regulations? It's above the regulation. I thought that would be the end of the matter, and as you know, I also thought it'd be the end of the matter when they claimed in their original application that there was a vegetation to screen our property. As you well know, there's no vegetation. There's still no vegetation. There's been no effort to put vegetation, even though they've owned the block of land for some time, before this heat wave. I can understand somebody not putting plants in right at this point of time. The last thing, what I read in the report was that our home was in fact 90 metres from beyond the fence line. That's completely irrelevant. I might sit up on the fence line in a sun deck chair and watch the moon at night and stargaze. The fact that my home is 90 metres beyond the fence line is irrelevant to that application, in my opinion. Our fence line should be acknowledged as the boundary. As I expressed to you at the last meeting, we actually breed black-faced Suffolk sheep and we use that back paddock. So we're actually frequently in that back paddock, not just in our home. So I don't want to hold you up. You've been really patient with me, listening to me last time. My partner said I was wasting my time coming again, so didn't come with me. And I had to admit I sort of thought that might be the case, but Glenn, when I wrote to Glenn Oatley, he said that I could come to the meeting and express my disappointment at the lack of acknowledgement of our genuine reasons for not having a above height shed in our backyard, because it literally will be straight in our vision, and Glenn can validate that. He came to have a look. If you think it's within reason for them to have the above height shed, move it to another place on the above 2 hectares. They have. What about in their own backyard? Meaning behind their house, because their house has gone up now. Why? Because that's going to get in the road of their view. What about in the front right-hand corner? Because that will be in their view. Well, right where it is now will completely block our view. And I really believe it'll change the value of our property. And yeah, we're so disappointed we actually started looking at other properties to move, because it's not what I'd call not fair. All right? Thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Margaret. Does anyone have any questions of Margaret? Yes, Councillor Watt.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Am I able to ask a question of the director at this point? No. Margaret, we did ask the staff to go and investigate a few of the issues that you brought up, specifically around the assessment of noise and about how we could certify the height amount. Is that information that's been provided to you?
About the noise? I don't recall.
No, that's okay. We asked that in the last meeting, and we've been given information back on it by our staff, as well as a...
we did raise it, sorry. We did,
yeah, you
raised it
Yeah,
because
that's
if
right.
it's a shed where they're maintaining automobiles
Yeah.
and building and so forth, we did raise that would impact on us.
Yeah.
And the idea that we're 90 metres away from that shed, like I said, is totally irrelevant.
Yeah, sorry. What I meant is council asked the staff to come back to us with more information. I was asking whether you were provided with...
No.
No. Okay,
No, we
right.
haven't. In fact, the only information I've had is by going online, and that took me ages. It wasn't an easy...
Okay.
Maybe
yeah.
I'm getting a bit old, but I didn't find it easy to find,
No, that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
find the correct document.
Right. Okay.
But
yeah.
I did, and I read it, and was genuinely disappointed.
Yeah, and we've also received a letter that's in our papers for tonight from the shed developer about considerations of moving it in a different space. Has there been any conversations with you? About moving it? No,
And
okay.
to me that is the obvious answer to this situation, because if it's absolutely necessary for them to have this height, I think it's 2.02 hectares, so 5-6 acres something, and there's plenty of room for a shed. And like I said, what I don't understand is why it's okay to put it right on our boundary when they've got 3 other boundaries where it could go.
Yeah.
I walked over yesterday via Willowvale. I didn't walk through their property, but I had a look, and there's obvious places for the shed. So I don't understand why it's being okayed that it's in our backyard, because it literally will be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah, no, thank you. Because we do have a bit more information that we'll talk
Yes,
about
I
when we
haven't
get
seen
to
it.
ours, but you haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this meeting. I'll declare that this meeting is over, and in 5 minutes we'll have the council meeting. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's 5:45. I'd like to declare open the ordinary council meeting of Monday the 23rd of February 2026. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is live streaming and recording this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being live streamed and recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I'll take a motion to approve leave. Councillor Fagan is an apology and Councillor Speechley is an apology. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Not necessary, thank you.
Councillor Horton.
Not this time, thank you.
Anyone wish to speak on that? Write a reply, Councillor Kiss. Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. 1.4, disclosures of interest. Council and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare. A, what report and item you are declaring an interest in. B, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary. And C, what is the nature of the interest. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I have disclosures of interest in two items. 4.5, the DA of 7 Vaux Lane, and 8.1, the application for the Access Incentive Scheme grant. Both are for Cowra Information and Neighbourhood Centre. They're minor non-pecuniary interests as I'm Chair of SYNC, and I will leave the chamber for both. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I declare interest in item 4.5, a non-pecuniary interest. A family member was involved in the preparation of the submission, and I will leave the room for the duration of the discussion.
Any others? Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Surprise, surprise, 4.5, non-pecuniary interest. I've got a family member that works at the Neighbourhood Centre, and similarly for item 8.1, non-pecuniary interest. Pecuniary should be much easier to say than that. So I'll leave the room for both those. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 4.4. I believe I could have a family member involved in this sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will leave the room.
Leave the room. Thank you. Okay, we have no presentations.
Sorry, Mayor, just quickly to help my fellow councillor, we have a late agenda item of the minutes from today's meeting, earlier today, and I think Councillor Wright declared an interest in that if he wants to also declare that in tonight's meeting.
I'm sorry,
Have I got a pecuniary interest somewhere else, have I?
Do you think, should he do that, or is it just minutes, so it doesn't matter?
as I understand it, I didn't hear the item that we're referring to, but the only person that can decide whether they have a conflict of interest is the council themselves.
Yeah. Typically, councillors don't declare in the minute confirmation of minutes, so no, I wouldn't think it's necessary.
It's just a question. Is the item being discussed as in the purple folder, is it? Now, I have looked at that. To my disappointment, you keep bringing things in 5 minutes before the hour, but I don't think I have anything to declare there. Thank you.
Confirmation of the minutes. I will now take a motion to confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 27th of January 2026. Councillor Kiss and Councillor Downing. Councillor Kiss.
Sorry, no, thank you.
Councillor Downing. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Kiss, write a reply.
Needed, thank
Put the
you.
motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. Item 3.1, planning system reforms. It's a mayoral minute. I will move that we accept that recommendation, that we can, you'll second that? Thank you. This has been discussed, it's been presented before. It's eroding our ability to deal with, well, not eroding, it's totally taking away our ability to leave, to decide on matters of DA that normally come to council. They will instead go to a local planning panel, of which no councillor can be on. And on top of that, they also can override councillors, the planning department's normal standards. And I think it's a step back, it's a retrograde step back, and I think we need to lobby whoever we can to try and prevent this. How we'll go, I don't know, but I think we have to, as you'll see in that mayoral minute, lobby the government, LGA New South Wales, a local member, country mayors, and we're not the only council that feels this way, but without the voices, we won't get anywhere. So would any councillor Watt, would you like to?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for bringing this recommendation to the council. This was some really disappointing legislation passed at the end of last year by the state government, which, as the Mayor alluded to, really erodes our capacity to represent our community and make the best interests for it. Our staff have done a huge amount of work in combination with the councillors over the last year, reviewing our DCP and making strategic choices to create the development that our community wants. And this is a real smash in the face to say that that really doesn't matter. The thing that I'm really concerned about, as Mr. Mayor raised, is the variation certificates as part of complying development certificates. The development of complying development certificate, or CDCs, is a really great development, which means that DAs that are completely compliant can go through in a smoother process, as makes sense. If you're doing something completely within the lines, there's quite a clear line for you to submit it. But suggesting the addition of variation certificates that could be automatically approved if not reviewed within 20 days really destroys that development. The idea always was that if people wanted amendments, as we deal with each council meeting, we deal with it on the issue at hand and we look at the considerations for each issue. And I think over time the implications of this will be significant in that a number of people will be going just a little bit higher or just a little bit closer to the boundary, and then each of their neighbours will go a little bit further than them, and we'll lose all that consistency. I don't presume to speak for my fellow councillors, but I think I would be fair in saying that this council is very in favour of expanded housing and that happening quickly. We know our community is really struggling with the unavailability of housing, particularly rental housing, but the government work, which is very well founded to be putting a lot of money in infrastructure around housing, is an opportunity to build good housing and to build housing that's going to last for generations, and that isn't going to be achieved by quick DAs being flown through. One of the biggest concerns being the imposition on councils that if they do not approve a CDC within 10 business days, it's automatically approved, and if they did not approve a variation certificate within 20 business days, it is automatically approved. And if I was someone wanting to put in a variation, of course I'd put in a bunch of CDCs with variations and flood the capacity and get that through. And I think it's really just creating loopholes and challenges for our staff that's unreasonable. It also shows the real lack of understanding and listening to local government New South Wales and local councils continually raising that we are under-resourced in our planning teams to meet the expectations around these new housing policies. And in no way are the councils ever saying we don't want more housing. We're just saying help us do it and help us do it properly. So I definitely commend this proposal to go forward and hope that we can start to get some understanding from the local member and from the New South Wales Government to determine why they've come to this and seek a way to get to a better outcome. Because I think in the ideal we have the same endpoint, that we want expanded housing, we want good housing, we want to reduce barriers for development, but we don't want to do that in a way that removes the planning controls that are there for a really good reason.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the points Councillor Watts raised there. And as you said, this is absolutely a retrograde step. It is a real risk here that we have no local influence into local planning, which just makes no sense to me whatsoever. We may, as councillors, from time to time have different views on what we think the next best thing is for our town, but we are all invested in our town and we all genuinely want the best thing for our town. I don't believe that's going to continue if the people that are involved in these planning panels don't have any sort of investment in the community that they're making decisions for. The other thing I wanted to call out is the fact that Cowra Council, and certainly Cowra Council staff that work in this space, go over and above as far as I'm concerned. We run lots of opportunities for people to engage around the planning process. We've had pretty good stats in terms of how quickly we can move applications through the planning process. I feel like us and other councils that will be in similar situations are actually being penalised for no reason. So for those of you that are interested in the community, if you want to get involved and lend your voice to this, then please find a way to do so. And I'm sure councillors are happy to talk to people about how they might be able to add their voice to this as well, because this is absolutely a backward step. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, I think it's all been very well said by my fellow councillors. And the only reason I'm saying anything here is because these planning reforms are potentially extremely detrimental to our town, and I believe in that quite firmly. We're the ones that live here. The people that are in these other panels, or the developers even coming in, they don't always live here. We've seen it time and time again where we have developers coming in, trying to impose variations that we as a council and their neighbours and other council, other committee members, community members feel that they're unreasonable, and then they've been overturned. And that is simply because we want to maintain the standards that we currently have, not only now, but into the future. This isn't something that we can rewind. Once we've allowed buildings that are so close to the boundaries that you can't put bins down the sides and you have to have bins all out the front, that's where they're going to stay forever. And we've all been out to those regional towns where, instead of having place on the properties for the cars, you've actually got vehicles all out on the nature strip or blocking the roads to the stage where there's only one-way traffic that can go through. We have seen that occur in other regional towns, and we don't want that here. That's why we have said this is our DCP. These are the extra things that we want to include to keep our community exactly the way we want it. Guy, I fully support everything you're doing there, Mr. Mayor, and let's just keep pushing this through. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing.
Can I ask a question about the planning panel? Is there any clear direction on who would be on that planning panel, how much that would cost council? So there will be an additional cost for us to have a planning panel?
Through the Chair, we don't have any information on costs. The only information we have to date is the members that will not be permitted on the panels, and that is real estate agents, developers, and any elected councillor from, it doesn't even have to be from this council area. That is the only information that we have at this point.
So I'm fully in support of you sending this, and I'm more than happy to support it, and I think it's absolutely hasn't been thought through, and perhaps they should come out here and see how it goes before they make the decisions. So Steph might be the way to go.
Anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think what they're trying to deliver will be unworkable. They seem to want to take over all decision making across the whole of the state, and quite frankly, they can't even look after the city limits without coming out here and telling us how things should be run. There's been suburbs set up without schools and sporting ovals, hospital services, public transport links to and from them. One of the biggest sins that you can do when you're a councillor or elected member is to be involved with developers, and this, what they're putting forward, is right into the developers' hands, that they will drive the development in an area, and if it doesn't meet the current standards, they can go to this Central Planning Authority or whatever it is and get their variations approved there. It's stated there that relevant local standards do not have to be adhered to. And this is just taking more power away from local government and its members and the community. It'll get to the stage where people will be non-respondent and won't take an interest in the operation of their local town. Not all development comes to council to be determined. A lot of it's determined under delegation from the staff. It's only when it's outside the DCPs or someone's objected that we as councillors have any involvement in it. So we're not a disruptive lot of people. And who's going to write the LEPs and DCPs going forward if we've got no input into the decisions that have been made? In the 2012-13 LEP, when we started going through that about 3 or 4 years before it, all the preambles was for the Mudgee area. It had nothing to do with, in the Macquarie Valley, it had nothing to do with the Cowra Shire and the Lachlan and the Lachlan catchment, and but that was put forward by these bureaucrats and that to think up these incredible plans. So we've just got to voice our concern, and hopefully someone will listen. And they just need these ministers need to take their hand out of our pockets and get on with it. If they want to help us finance the water and sewage schemes that we need to do to increase the housing development in our towns, that's the limiting factor. And it's a factor that's beyond our resources, theoretically, to be able to develop land at a price that isn't going to be overbearing on future development. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? I'll have my right of reply. I thank all the councillors for what you've put into this. I don't see one good thing about this. I'm trying to find a little bit of good there. There's nothing. It's just Big Brother deciding, and I'm with Councillor Wright. I think this is playing into the hands of the developers. There's a way around our decisions. There's a way around our council. I just cannot see one reason why the government would want to do this. I know they do it in Sydney, Newcastle and Wollongong. I don't live there. But I do not see that there is any improvement in anything we do in this legislation. So I think we've got to do all we can to fight it. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Passed. Thank you. The General Committee recommendations from Monday the 9th of February 2026. 4.1, the Policy Review Public Interest Donation Policy. Can I have Councillor Watt?
Not
Councillor
required.
Kiss, thank you.
Sorry.
Councillor Watt?
Jumping in, not required. Thank you.
I can only look one way at once. You know. Councillor Watt.
I don't need to speak, thank you.
Councillor Kiss.
No, thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor, can you turn your microphone off, please? You're catching the eye. Right of reply, Councillor Watt. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. The 4.2, the investments and financial report. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we did discuss this at length at the general meeting. There were no concerns noted. Thank you.
Councillor Watt. Nothing to report. Anyone else wish to comment? Right of reply, Councillor Kiss. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 4.3, strategic infrastructure requirements for Cowra land development and growth. Councillor Horton. Councillor Downing. Councillor Horton.
Just to thank the staff for the significant amount of work that went into preparing the report for us. It's a dynamic space, obviously, so the work will need to continue, but it gives us some start points and some guardrails. Thank you.
Councillor Downing. Anyone else wish to comment? Right of reply, Councillor Horton.
Not required, thank
Put
you.
the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 4.4, request from adjoining landowner to close and purchase council road reserve under the Roads Act. We'll wait for Councillor Wright to leave the room. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horton. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. This is a request to begin a process of notification to begin with, and then if all things line up, then we can move towards a sale. So we don't have any current use for this parcel of land, and we don't. It's not a part of our future planning either. The only thing we will request is that we retain access. We've got some infrastructure underneath the road, but apart from that, this is just a process to see if we can get there in the first place. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss. Anyone else wish to comment? Right of reply, Councillor Horton.
Not required, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? We'll wait for Councillor Wright to come back in. The next one is 4.5. That leaves us without a quorum. We will postpone this development until we have some other councillors come back from leave. This is unfortunate, but a lot of our councillors do have an interest in the Cowra Information and Neighbourhood Centre, declare an interest and leaves us without a quorum. So we'll have to just resolve to deal with that at another time.
And Mr. Chairman, I'll just add that we are talking to the neighbourhood centre, and once we can tee up when enough councillors will be in the room, if we need to have an extraordinary meeting, possibly on the day of the March General Committee meeting, we would do that. Otherwise, we would wait until the March Council meeting.
Okay, can we get those councillors back in, please? We have deferred that DA until we can get enough councillors to have a quorum. Right, 4.6, development application number 102025.122.1, lot 11 DP 1306817, 174 Willowvale Road, Cowra, garage lodged by DA Walters. The property is owned by DA and BA Walters. Can I have a mover? Would that DA be accepted? Councillor Horton. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So there's been a bit of discussion about this, a bit of back and forth. This may well be the most infamous shed to be in Cowra at the moment. So there's been some concerns raised, which is fair enough, about the positioning of the shed. The shed is within the setback, so the property owner is allowed to position the shed where they are, where they want to. And part of the reasoning for that is, as I understand, it's certainly in the information we've been provided, is because that part of the property will require the least amount of ground remediation for it to be level. So that's a consideration for the owner, which I think is reasonable. As I said, it's within where they're allowed to place the shed in the first place. The other reason that it came to us was a variation to the height, and we've discussed variation to the height as well, and I think Councillor Wright identified the amount, the percentage amount that it was higher than what our current DCPs allow. We have discussed that as well in the past. We've had a number of these such variations to height, and it's generally around what people want to put in their sheds. Vehicles, caravans are getting larger, boats, all of that kind of stuff is getting larger. So we haven't in the past seen those requests for variations as unreasonable, and I'd argue that there's no reason to see this one as unreasonable either. There's some discussion also around potential for noise, but I'm not sure that was really based on any hard evidence. So I understand people that live nearby will raise concerns, particularly if they've lived there for a number of years and there hasn't been any development. The reality is this is a developed area, this is a subdivided area, and it might be that the enjoyment that people have had that live there currently is starting to change. It doesn't mean the enjoyment will go away, but it's starting to change because people are deciding to develop their own blocks, which, as long as they do it within reason and within the DCP, they're allowed to do. So I have no issue supporting this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, yes, it's a much discussed garage, that's for sure. And look, I would like to sincerely thank neighbour submitter Margaret Trode for coming in and speaking so passionately. I'd like to acknowledge that there are genuine concerns. I can empathise, having been in a similar position where I was one of the first within a certain area and then houses went up around me and again my views were obscured. So I totally understand that feeling of being enclosed, but the reality is you only own a certain parcel of land. Look, and as Councillor Horton said, the height has been justified. We all have different retirement thoughts. This particular person would like to be able to tinker on vintage cars. I'm sure my sewing machine makes lots of noise too. So look, the reality is we all have different retirement projects. As long as the noise is within a certain level, which it's assured that it will be, there's no reason to suggest that it won't. Again, we can't knock it back based on that. And the owner has also assured us that there will be a line of trees that will also just help to provide a bit more native landscaping. Look, I as much as I respect people wanting to have, nice views, I also think that the owner shouldn't feel the need to move a garage into a different position at quite a considerable extra expense when that's not where they want to place it. They've decided this is their block of land, this is their particular place where they want to place it. It's all allowable. Our DCP will accommodate the variation. And so I just feel we need to actually be supportive of this DA. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright, question.
Yeah, question to the Mayor, probably to the Director. In our late report folder, it's got a response from the owner about the questions raised. It's on MA Shed's letterhead, but he signed it. So does he own MA Sheds or any? Page 13 of the attachment. Well, I presume he signed it. It's got his name there. His signature would have been taken out. I'm just interested in why MA Steel seem to be submitting all the information.
Through the chair, MA Steele's the applicant, and they liaised with the actual owner who provided that feedback to them.
Anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Watt?
Thanks. Sorry, just to clarify on that, the report title on page 10 says lodged by DA Walters and owned by DA Walters. So I think what Councillor Wright is trying to say is RMA Steel, who lodged it, also the property owners. No, is that a mistake on page 10 where it lists DA Walters twice?
No, what it's saying is the application was lodged by them and they own the property.
So it wasn't lodged by MA Steel, it was lodged by the applicant?
The plans
The
are
owner.
all done by MA Steel and owned by MA Steel.
Yeah. But the property and
Yes,
the lodgement
you're
was
correct.
done by the owner?
Yes, you're
Yeah,
correct.
Correct. Great. Look, I'm still a little bit torn on this one, to be honest. I was disappointed to receive the response to our questions in the late papers that came at midday today when we did raise this 2 weeks ago, more than 2 weeks ago, and also a bit disappointed that the responses don't entirely answer the questions that we raised, as well as being disappointed that the objector, there wasn't an effort to get the objector and the owner together, because I think that was kind of the feeling of the room when we left 2 weeks ago, that whether there was a possibility to work between the two to get greater understanding. I had anticipated that we would the council would investigate and receive information about the types of machinery that would be used as a way to do an initial noise assessment to see if there would be significant impact, as a way to work with between the two to figure out if there was going to be an ongoing issue. It seems to me a very complicated and unnecessary process for us to wait until there is a compliance matter, because at that point, the person who's built the shed has expended quite a bit of work, and then the issue has kind of already been created. And if there's a potential to fix that beforehand, that would be preferable in my thoughts. But through this, we have a little bit of information, but not a lot of information about the kinds of machinery that will be used on cars and whether they do have significant sound impacts. I think it's fair we don't, obviously can't do a full sound assessment without it being there, but there could have been efforts made to take some steps there. Additionally, we raised the question of, how do we know that, what height is actually required for the machinery being used, and is that consistent with what's been put forward? And we haven't been given a response here, which I think could have also been a space to work with between the applicant and the objector to get a better outcome. So I guess I'm just disappointed in our process here and feel like we haven't really got the information that we asked for to be able to assess it properly.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright?
Thank you. With that answer to the question about the applicant and MA Steel, I'm confused, as Councillor Watts just raised. It was lodged by the owner, I presume, the applicant, but MA Steel have done all the written work and I presume signed off on it. And I don't know if it's just been a cut and paste exercise or what it's been, but I'm confused. The people supplying the information seem to be different to the applicant, and I realise that you're entitled to do within reason what you like on your own block, but as I think indicated before, it's a 30% increase or something in the height of the building, and from what's in our DCP, which isn't a minor increase. And I'm just not clear, I suppose. I should have went and had a look at the site, but I think for me to have a look at the site now, I've got to give public announcement that I was going to go out and have a look so the rest of Cowra could come too and see what I was looking at and what I was thinking. So we used to go and have a look at sites and things like this, but under the new meeting procedure and council operations, that's very difficult, but I'm inclined not to approve it at the present stage. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Downing?
Just to say that obviously I voted against this last time and I'll be voting against it this time. I do agree that the idea of creating possibly creating a problem and then dealing with that problem later on is kind of counterproductive. These things do come to us to make decisions because they are variations, and we are able to make those decisions and decide whether they are feasible or not. And I kind of agree that they're actually not at this stage. And nothing that I've read has changed my mind this week.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'll have a say. This DA has come to us because the shed's over height, and I think that's what we've got to consider. The applicant has decided to place it where he has because that's the most level part of ground he's got, so it reduces his cut and fill. We don't ask anyone else what they're going to do in their garage, whether it's going to be noisy, whether it's not going to be noisy. People who work, there's plenty of people who work on their cars and other machinery in their garage. We don't question them. And to Councillor Wright's problem with MI Steel doing all the work, we get a lot of DAs where they are put in by planning consultants and they provide all the information. I assume that MI Steel shepherd stuff through council exactly the same manner and answer the queries the same as a planning consultant does. I don't see a problem with that, providing the information is accurate. It doesn't matter who provides it. So I don't see that this applicant has done anything wrong except the shed's too high. Judge it on that, fine. But I don't think that's the end of the world, and I accept the neighbours are not happy. I accept that, and I take Councillor Horton's point of view that you're allowed to build whatever you like within the rules. Now, when you buy a block of ground, you don't buy the view. If someone else comes along and puts something on their block and it affects your view, there's nothing you can do about that. That's just the way life is. You can buy a place with an ocean view. If someone puts a house in front of you, the view's gone. That's just a fact of life, I'm afraid. So I will support this development application. Councillor Horton, right of reply.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, absolutely agree. I think in terms of the height, as you said, this is what initiated it coming to council in the first place, and then of course once it was on, we got one submission once it had been on public display. So as I said before, we have allowed increases to sheds previously. We've actually had discussions in reviewing our current DCP about increasing the height of sheds allowable in the new DCP. So that's been an active discussion. There's nothing new there. The applicant has said repeatedly that he wants to put some stuff in the shed and tinker on old cars. The noise concern, I feel like we're jumping at shadows. If somebody tells us in their application that they're going to tinker on old cars, and then once it's all up and running, we find that they're running a commercial garage out of the place, well, they haven't been honest with us. But I don't think we can second guess that before it happens. The applicant has repeatedly committed that this is what I'm using this for, and again, within reason, is the shed, within the setback? Is it going to interrupt waterways or anything like that? No, it's not. It's allowable where it is. The request is to slightly increase the height, and that's really what we're here to consider. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the DA at 4.6. All those in favour? Councillor Covey, your hand up or down? Sorry. Up. Okay. 4. Those against? 3. Thank you. That's passed. 4.7.
Just a question. I accept that planning people lodge DAs and shed companies can lodge DAs, but they sign their own documents, don't they?
I'd have to ask the director that. I don't know. Yes.
Through the chair, we get a combination of both. As long as they've got the owner's written consent, they can submit on behalf of the owner.
Yeah, no, I'm quite happy with them submitting it. The question I asked here on page 12 and 11 is they've got a company's letterhead, but it's signed by the applicant. So that's why I asked if he's a member of the shed company. I find it difficult, the applicant using someone's letterhead who's supposed to be doing the work. I'm just getting clarification for future references.
It would appear that would both happen. Sometimes the consultant signs it, sometimes the owner signs it. So it would appear that both.
Right.
Both
Thanks very much.
Thank you. 4.7. Councillor queries of the General Committee meeting. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Just
It's a separate item, isn't it? You've got to go out and come in again? Or all these things in this bit of paper?
These are the queries of the General Committee meeting. There will be another one further along of tonight.
The ones in this sheet for the General Committee, aren't they? No? Right. So what we're moving here is something that was moved at the last meeting and had to be in the minutes somewhere.
Yep.
Right. Thank you.
These are, look, I understand where you're coming from, Councillor Wright. I asked a heap of questions about this simply because these are the new rules we have these days and we're going to have to get used to them, but they're not flowing nicely off the sheet like they used to. Councillor Kiss?
No, not necessary, thank you.
Councillor Downing?
Yeah, just to say, I don't have a problem with these. I think that it's great for the community to see what we're asking and the answers that we get, which gives us a bit more clarification when we're coming in here to discuss it. So I don't have a problem with it.
It certainly provides transparency, which is what it's designed to do. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Kiss, right of reply?
Not needed, thank you.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 5.1, the delivery program of 2025 to 2026, forward to 2028, 2029. Also, the operational plan from 2025-26 and a 6-month review to the 31st of December 2025. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt. Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, there's a tremendous lot of highlights here and an awful lot of action that's already been taken over the past 6 months. So I won't go into it. I know we're going to be discussing this at great length in the very near future. Just had a quick question, more for my own benefit, on page 80, H3.2, which talks about the letter that was sent to the Federal Health Minister about the Medicare Urgent Care Clinic. It doesn't note what date. Do you know if we might be coming up to looking towards a response yet, or was it only just recently sent? Or does that need to go on notice?
All I'm aware of there is they have commenced these clinics. Certainly, we've asked the question and asked if we could have one. We've had no reply, I don't believe, have we? No reply. So they have started to roll them out. I think there's one at Bathurst. But we live in hope that we would get one, but certainly at this point in time we haven't. Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Thank you, Councillor Kiss. I think it's always good to see these reports and see what's happened in the last 6 months. I think significant items to highlight of what's occurred is the low-level bridge rehabilitation, which is very financially significant and significant, hopefully, for its stability going forward. Is that we were successful in achieving the FOGO grant, which will take us a big step towards achieving one of our longer-term goals of rolling out FOGO to our community, and one that I know is well. Everyone's waiting with bated breath for it to arrive, so it'll be very exciting. We hosted a Welcome to Cowra event and supported Business Cowra to restart. I also wanted to highlight the positive, we made a change in this financial year in how we report on how local commercial and not-for-profits are using the Civic Centre. And through this report, we can see that 6 organisations took up the local commercial financial support program for using the Civic Centre to the value of $17,000, which is a really great boost back into our local commercial providers and maximising the use of the Civic Centre. I had 2 questions on page 98 through the chair to the Director of Infrastructure on L5.8. We're just missing an update on that item, or to whoever wants to respond.
Through the chair and administrative oversight, I meant to fill that box in. The planned work at the caravan park includes electrical upgrades to make sure that there's only one master switch, and also safety upgrades to the power points for the power supply for the fans at the riverside. So our building team have got quotes for that work, and so it's in progress.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And also on page 117, B3.1G, I was very excited to see that the disabled toilet at Squire Park is open for use. Do we have an ETA on when the refurbishment will take place and implement a change table, and whether these refurbishments will include a mother's space as was previously the case?
Through the chair, at the moment, our building maintenance, our building asset officer has got some quotes for the change table, and also some potential renovations to open up the mother's space as well. I'll have to take on notice the ETA, get back to you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the questions other councillors you've asked and had answers to some of mine. I was just curious, around page 79, 80, in the health space, we talk about getting involved in a few different aspects in terms of trying to attract health professionals to town. I was just wondering, even anecdotally, whether or not we have any evidence if the new hospital is having an impact on attracting health professionals to town.
I'm told that it will, but I don't know whether we've seen it as yet. Certainly there are a couple of younger health professionals that have come. How many of those have come? We need a lot more health professionals for the upgrade or increased facilities that we've got there. And hopefully, because it's a new facility with new equipment, state of the art, that will attract them a bit more. Certainly it's attracted a couple, but we need a lot more than a couple, so it's working on that. Okay, anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing?
I don't have page numbers, but it's around the health space as well. So I just had a question about the survey of rural and regional councils through the Country Mayors and Rural Doctors Network, and it said that results were going to come in early in the year. Have we had any feedback from that?
No, we haven't. We have a meeting on Thursday. Hopefully there might be something there, but at this stage we haven't. One of the interesting things on the JO's agenda on Thursday is get a result out of CSU on how many of their people that we've provided scholarships for look like staying in the area.
Okay.
And that'll be a telling thing in itself that we've provided scholarships. One lady I know has a cattle stud at Bathurst, so I assume she's going to stay around, but it'll be interesting to see with the others whether we've provided scholarships, but whether we're going to benefit from those people or not, I don't know.
Yeah. And then I just have, do we have any feedback our stuff for the Agricultural Research Centre and the loss of staff? Do we have any information about that one?
You wouldn't want to know. I received a reply from the letter we wrote on the 18th of August. I received it this morning.
Okay. Good question then, hey.
And I have never seen, and this is public, I have never seen a document say so little in so much space as this one did. It's incredible. They go through they don't mention Cowra at all. They just talk about biosecurity investigations and all these things, but they don't mention Cowra. And I'd say it's a Ronio'd letter that they send off to everybody that complains. But yeah, they circulate it. And we will, I think it might have even, if it didn't go out today, a copy of it will go out to all councillors. It's a classic. When you read it.
So we're none the wiser is the answer.
No, they won't. The only thing I spoke personally to the minister, and the only reply I got from him said, we're not going to shut it. That was the only reply I got. But certainly there's a loss of jobs up there.
Yeah.
And a loss of research.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And then there was only one more thing I was going to comment. A couple more things. The Youth Council are much more busy than every other committee on the whole plan, so we need to up our game, I think. And also just congratulate the staff. I was at the Trade Day cooking sausages to feed people, and the amount of stuff we had there. I got to pat the fluffy dogs from the pound, to have a nurse of the cat. It was amazing the work that the staff did, and it was every department, and so they should be congratulated. It was a great day.
I generally do comment that we're blessed with very good staff. They're excellent. Okay, anybody else wish to comment?
Chairman, I'll just comment that this is a report that would normally go to the information meeting, but given our new regime, that's not possible. So I would say to councillors, when you're reading this in the days afterwards, if you have any questions, please fire them through, because, as I say, it encompasses everything we do, and it's probably one of the most comprehensive document you get every 6 months of all the activities of council. So it's in your best interest to ask the challenging questions and be aware of what's happening.
Thank you. Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And look, I'd like to thank Councillor Watt for mentioning just a few of our highlights, and I have to say that is just a few of them. And look, sincerely invite our community to have a look on the Council's agenda, anywhere from page 71, I think I've noted. But look, I think that the community will be pleasantly surprised. And of course, we welcome any feedback, we welcome any input. I mean, this is the document to serve the whole community, and it's important that the community feels included in it. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Passed. Thank you. 6.1. Submission to the inquiry into the state of live music in New South Wales. Councillor Watt, Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is a submission drafted by the Civic Centre Reference Group with our fabulous chair, Dr Wendy Brooks, and staff member Jared Shields. I think hopefully everyone's had the chance to read this. The state government is looking into how how the nighttime economy functions and how entertainment functions within that. And our team have put together a really good submission to give some insight into how it works in the regions. I think there's some really great suggestions in here around in reflection of our first year of having the funding for Bell Beats and the kind of challenges that we faced through implementing this. Hopefully, the timing is one that was a significant one, but I think there's been some really good suggestions here for the state government to consider, particularly an events support hub for sharing resources between small councils for things like marketing or risk planning, which can be a really big step for people who haven't facilitated those events before, and for us to hire staff who are experienced in it would be quite a significant cost. I think there's also some really useful flagging in here of the element of having people travel to the regions is quite expensive and is actually higher cost sometimes than people performing in the city. So a need to figure out a bit of a way around that, as well as collaborate with our local and surrounding civic centres. It's also a really good reflection on how long the Civic Centre has been running for and the development over time to get there. I also think it's a really great reflection, and one hopefully we can advocate not just through this inquiry but through other mechanisms like Local Government New South Wales, of the importance of using grants like this to build capacity locally through support from the department or other bodies, as we're seeing work so well in our increased funding to have trainees locally. These grants are a great opportunity to build our own staff in the Civic Centre's capacity to run events like this in the future, as well as build local professionals rather than feeling like the pressure that we have to hire someone in from externally just to meet deadlines.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Councillor Horton, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Absolutely agree. I think this is a terrific submission, and thanks to Dr. Brooks and to Jared Shields for pulling it together. Music and the arts more broadly are a way communities come together. It's a way communities reflect themselves back to each other. It's an opportunity for people to have some downtime, to as I said, to reflect, to come together in terms of what it is to be part of a particular community. This is the parts of the submission that I think add great value, where, as Councillor Watt talked about, anywhere there's an opportunity for wraparound, anywhere there's an opportunity to streamline, instead of each individual smaller community having to stump up the money and stump up the resources and have the facilities available and have the expertise available. That's one thing that we probably forget sometimes too. It's not just the physical space to have something, it's actually people that understand how everything goes together and how to work that new sound system, how to work whatever. So all of that stuff is really important. I'm really glad that this submission's being submitted. It's terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton. Would anyone else like to comment? I think it's the report clearly states the disadvantages we have in even just musical professionals, sound engineers, the whole thing. We do it tough. And it is difficult. I think the report highlights that very well. Right, a reply, Councillor Watt?
Not required.
All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 6.2, the second quarter budget review, 2025-2026. Councillor Kiss. I'll second that. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was obviously quite pleasing budget review, considering it looks that we'll be in surplus at the end of the financial year. I was really impressed, and this is on page 35 of the report, so I'm not quite sure of what it is, the agenda. Sorry, I didn't note that there. Where we'd provided the funding through means of a grant and some assistance, obviously, from the local Aboriginal Lands Council towards the construction of the bus shelter at Arambi. I remember when we did our tour through there, and it was, yeah, it was not in the best of conditions. So it was very pleasing to see that work between council and local lands council, even though it's on private property, because it's for the benefit of so many of our young people. I did note, and once again, this was actually mentioned through our late reports about the increase in the cleaning of the CBD, increasing by 100,000, but apparently that isn't so. So I do apologise, I haven't got my notes updated on that. And just a curiosity more than anything, page 150, when we're talking about our sewer, that there's apparently limited demand for reuse of water cart effluent. And I was a bit surprised that there was really any demand for it, to be perfectly honest, but maybe I don't know quite enough about water cart effluent and its possibilities. But anyway, look, very sound report, quite pleasing, and thank you.
Thank you, and I take Councillor Kiss's point. I hope they use a separate truck when they're getting the effluent and the water. But yeah, when you read this, it's just got some interesting things in it, how we're going, what we're over, what we're under, and what should all square up by the end of the term. It tends to square itself up. So I think it's lovely to have a look at. It's full of interest, as I said. There's the ups and downs. You get to have a look at them in the second quarter. So anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And while I agree we are looking like a good surplus over time, I was quite concerned to see the deterioration of almost $1.5 million in the general fund, and somewhat confused as the key factors that have been laid out for the reduced surplus. The majority of them fit within the waste and water lines rather than in the general fund, but the general fund is where we're seeing the most significant deterioration. Wondering if you could give us some insights in how we got to 1.4 million deterioration in the general fund.
Through the chair, I'll have to take that on notice and provide you with more detailed response because it's an amalgam of variations across the budget. But I can certainly prepare that advice and circulate it to council and with the next council papers as well, of course.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I was wondering, sorry, I don't have the page, but I note that there's a $1.2 million increase in materials and contracts under the general fund. Can you give us some insight into what that increase is?
Not at this stage, no.
Okay. Are you able to give me an explanation? There's a line here that the overspend on Bell Beats was $45,000, but the net cost to council was $13,000. Is the $13,000 a direct cost to council outside the grant, or how have we come to that figure?
Yeah, it's a net cost to council, accounting for the additional funds that we had to put in to the amount allocated from the grant that year. So it's a net amount after the allocation for that year from the budgeted amount of the grant. Does that make sense?
Not really.
Okay. We budgeted a certain amount for the Bell Beats Festival. That amount was inclusive of all costs, including council costs, and then with higher than expected costs that came through, the net balance was attributed to council. Now, some of those areas of increased cost, I recall, had to do with, for example, labour. There was a large overtime bill with a number of council staff that attended. We feel that we'll be able to address that next year by using contracted staff. We're not paying the overtime rates. Another couple of elements, we're buying items that can be used across the 3 years that will be recycled. So our intention is to lower the cost in the next 2 years and keep within budget. The final thing I'd say on that as well is that we're looking at the costs of hiring artists for performance. The cost this year was a little higher than expected, partly because of the amount of time that we had to pull it together.
Thank you. I think we've discussed the overspend on bell beats before. My question was more around that $13,000 and why that's being articulated as a cost to council when this is a grant-funded project. Are you saying that that council in the general fund is taking on the cost of that overtime as a standard cost rather than it being deducted from the grant?
It was simply an adjustment based on how much we had allocated from the grant this year.
Yeah.
However, over the 3 years, we expect that $13,000 will be recovered through savings. Sorry.
Okay. Thanks for that. It was raised earlier today and it is in our late papers asking for an explanation of the increase in $100,000 in the CBD cleaning. But I think I'm still a little bit confused. I'm not sure if other councillors are as well. Wondering if you can articulate, it was our understanding in the CBD committee meeting last week, and the papers are in here, that the improvements or increase in the CBD cleaning had begun in the financial year 25-26, but we can see that the expense had gone up quite drastically in 24-25, and we're not budgeting for a substantial increase in 25-26 beyond 24-25. That's a lot of numbers, but I guess essentially what I'm saying is it was my understanding that the increase in work labour expenses would be happening in the financial year of 25-26, but looking at this report, it looks like we are adding, CPI and a little bit more, but not a substantial amount more in 25-26, and wondering what improvements were made in the previous financial year to relate to this significant increase, and whether we feel like we can achieve the new goals of higher maintenance in the CBD with the budget allocated.
Through the chair, if we refer to page 207, there's the first column is the actual for 225 for cleaning Cowra's CBD, which was 99,000 on wages and 64 on others. But so that was the result at the fourth quarter review last year. But the budget that we adopted prior to the fourth quarter review was only the items in the next column along, the 61,000 for labour and 38,000 for materials, other. So the budget needs to be adopted upwards. The budget needs to be adjusted upwards to reflect the changes that came in 2425. So that was my mistake that I reported to the CBD committee. The main changes you can see by comparison of those two columns. Wages have gone up from a budget of 62 to 99, so that's effectively 1.5 full-time equivalents instead of 1. And the other increase in operating expenses from the 38 to 64 is the increased use of the sweeper, the footpath sweeper that I reported to the CBD committee, so that the CBD sweeper is now doing a 9-day fortnight roster, whereas previously it was probably only doing it once a week. The new machine that we've got there is much more effective, I think, and it's I think the results have been pretty good.
Thanks, Director. I really appreciate that. I think that's helped me clarify. When did the shift to a 9-day fortnight begin?
For the sweeper, it would have begun in 24-25 after we purchased it.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that was definitely a different report than what was given to the CBD committee, and I think from conversations with the community, I don't think there had been a significant notice that there was such a big change in 24-25, and the conversation we had with the committee was around, the changes were going forward from the point of the report rather than it happening for the last year. So I think that's something we probably need to dig into a little bit more. But overall, just looking forward to getting some feedback on why we've had such a significant deterioration in the first item in the general fund, because it is quite, $1.4 million is quite a lot that we can't articulate as to why it's gone from the budget.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downey.
So just referring to my query today about the cost, which you've explained, but can you tell us, what does the CBD cleaning entail? Like, what are we paying for?
That job number, that line item in the budget is all the costs associated with sweeping the footpath areas, keeping the pavers clean and tidy, and cleaning the bin surrounds, as opposed to the line items above that, which refer to street sweeping, which is the large street sweeper going through town, cleaning up the leaves after they fall off the trees, that type of thing.
So the small street sweeper that we're talking about that we've purchased, is that to do the gutter, or is that actually on the actual pavers as well? Because I saw it on Sunday and it was doing the gutters, which is great, but it didn't clean the pavers. So does it have that potential to do that as well?
Most definitely on the pavers, yes.
Okay.
Cleaning the pavers. So what I reported to the CBD committee was that smaller, lightweight footpath sweeper, if you like, has the capacity to do the sweeping, the suction of the footpath areas, but it's also got some capacity to do some scrubbing of the stains and also the high pressure water as well.
Yeah. So how often do we do the high pressure water?
As required by staining.
Okay. So the number one complaint from everyone in the main street from the day the pavers went down is the marks and the stains and just the dirtiness or the dirty look of them, not so much that they are actually dirty. I would have just thought for that extra money we would be noticing a substantial difference in it, and then the shopkeepers would be reporting that to us, which they don't seem to be. So that was my question about the extra money that we were spending and what we're getting for that money. So if we have a staff member on a Sunday doing that, obviously we're paying wages on a Sunday. Are we doing that for that day for a reason? Is there less people or?
Yes, less people, so you can get the job done and not cause a disruption to the businesses.
Yeah.
Probably we know internally where there's some specific areas where there is staining, sort of ongoing grease staining. What I reported to the CBD committee was the intention of trialling a different sealer with a darker...
Which is great, I read that.
Yeah,
that would be a
with a
idea.
darker colour, because that had sort of blended in a bit better.
Yeah.
So we did try that last week, and it's probably too dark. But so there's more to come on that.
Yeah. No, I walked the street today and it's not great. So just before I came to the meeting at lunchtime, just to see. So, yeah, we need to still keep working on it, I think.
Any other comments? Councillor Wright.
Thank you. One thing I note, not having a information meeting prior to this meeting due to local government meeting procedures highlights the inadequacy of people coming to grasp with these financial reports before the council meeting. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, people shouldn't be able to hear what we're thinking, but there's things being asked here tonight that's got to come back, taken on notice, and it's got to come back. Well, if you had an information meeting, it would be back for the committee meeting, and here we are. We've got to make a decision on this report tonight to send it off to the Office of Local Government. But my question is, the $192,000 to get rid of the sludge, to remove the sludge from the waste treatment plant or whatever, the sewage plant, is that on top of what we expected, or is it including what we expected?
I'll try to answer the question that I think you're asking. You'd be aware that council was informed with the new sludge treatment baskets we would have less need to clean out the sludge lagoons. They'd need to be cleaned out less often. I would think that the estimate that was in the long-term financial plan is based on historical data, not a current quotation to actually do the work. So that's the reason for the variation, or the proposed variation.
Thank you. Are we responsible for what happens to that sludge once it's removed? Like, no doubt we get a contractor in to remove it. Are we responsible for the how that sludge is handled once it leaves our site under our EPA licence?
My answer would be yes. When we take our sludge baskets from that site, we dispose of them to landfill in accordance with the EPA biosolids guidelines. So regardless of who's taking it, we need to comply with the EPA biosolids guidelines.
Thank you. Also query I think I haven't got it here now, but $76,000 increase in quarry operations because we've used more gravel. We thought if we used more gravel, we'd have more sales come in, and that'd offset the $76,000, I presume, to crush the gravel to a saleable consistency. So will that come forward in future items that increase use of gravel? We got increased income than what we expected?
Yes, it will. Through the chair, yes, it will. It's a little bit difficult to reconcile directly, like to balance off one and the other. The gravel, when it's made, is in the quarry page, and the gravel expense when it's used is in the roads page. There is definitely a return on the price of making the gravel.
And I thank the Director for his honest answer and highlights the question I've been asking for 16 years is, we crush all this gravel, but when we write the worksheet for gravel, redoing gravel roads and so forth, or sales of gravel, it's not itemised in how much we sell or what money we get for it. And it's just the way it operates, and you don't ask these difficult questions, but it's one of the significant, we've bought gravel quarries in the past to have gravel to do for our needs and for any other needs, like to supply to the regional road work we get. And it would be nice to know how much gravel we crush and then what we get for it when we sell it. Just as an indication if the purchase of these quarries has been a viable exercise. But I congratulate you on everything else, and I would be a bit worried too, Councillor Watt, with the drop in the general fund, because that's where probably our untied money is, and we just made a decision this morning to spend a fair wad of that untied money.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not needed, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. 6.3, the Section 355 committee minutes of the Cowra Sport and Recreation Committee. Councillor Downing, Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Downing.
Yep, this just explains all of the things that the Sport and Rec Committee have been doing. Most notably is the plans that Rod Hayes has been bringing to the meetings to discuss and get feedback for the sports grounds at Mullion Oval, Sid Callis Oval or West Cowra Recreation Ground and Edgell Park, which have turned out really well, and the feedback from the committee is that they're very happy with them. I think you'll notice that the Rugby League have advised that they need a game day box, which was a great pickup. Which staff possibly wouldn't have known about, so we're investigating that. The committee is very keen on having some input into things that the staff are doing and plans that are going forward, and I don't know if anyone has been to speak to the General Manager. It does mention that the chairperson is coming to speak, so has that happened sorry?
No, not in any great detail. We had a very brief conversation
Yeah.
at another function, but no, not specifically about it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of see where they're coming from. We need to keep them engaged. They're very avid and they really want to get stuff moving, and I kind of see it that perhaps we could do it as we do the Access Committee, and we could run things by them and get their ideas and their feedback on it. So I'm hoping that might happen in the future. We do that with a couple of other committees, so I think that would be good. We had an evaluation of the networking event, and obviously the Cowra Families into Sport Day, struggling to find a date where there's nothing on before the start of the winter season. So we have a meeting on Wednesday night. Maybe we'll have more information about that this week. And if there are any questions anyone would like to ask.
Okay, Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Absolutely concur with Councillor Downing. Kudos again to Rod Hayes for all the work he's done and the way that he's done it in advancing the master plans. The networking event, I think, was actually really good, and it was a pity that it wasn't more well patronised. But Danielle and Mark and Penny have actually done a bit of a survey and got some information, so we can plough that back into how we approach the next one and try and maximise attendance for that one. So I think that's really helpful. But yeah, another meeting this Wednesday, and absolutely, Councillor Downing is correct. The committee and members of the committee are absolutely invested. So it's just about how we make sure we maximise that energy and that enthusiasm. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right to reply, Councillor Downing?
Not necessary.
We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Pass. Thank you. 7.1, committee minutes of the Transport Forum. I'll move those. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Transport Forum was as it's presented there. Most of it is about the road closures for Woodstock Pony Ride. We have spoken to the hospital at the re their traffic arrangements when the actual demolition gets fully underway, I suppose, once they start to impact the roads and all this sort of thing. Certainly the hospital have indicated at this point in time they're quite happy with the parking. The only problem they've got with parking is in their own facility. They've got a roundabout that you drive in, drop people off and drive out. People are parking in the roundabout and they can't, it won't work. I did notice that they've now got very tall cones up there to stop people parking in their own roundabout. But the rest of it, they're quite happy with at this point in time. But once they get really fair income of pulling it down, at this stage they're still gutting the building and taking it away in trucks, so it's not a great imposition. But once they start to knock stuff down, we might see a change then. So we're monitoring that, and any changes we've got to make, we will. Anzac Day Parade and we did get a report from Transport for New South Wales trying to figure out what they can do on the eastern end of the bridge to make it flow better. And they came up with a heap of ideas. They're going to investigate them. One of which is have a no right turn off the end of the bridge, so you can't turn towards the caravan park. You have to go up to Macquarie Street and go around the block, which will then impact on the pedestrian crossings in Macquarie Street. So no matter what you do, you've got a consequence. They've envisaged having 2 lanes going up Kendall Street as far as not quite to the petrol station, and having no parking along the on the northern side. Every time I drive past it, I look at it and I can't see that working. But they're looking at all sorts of things to do it, and our staff are trying to assess those. So that will take some time, and hopefully we'll get it. The other major thing is the junior soccer have permission to drop the speed limit along Bora Road for the playing fields to 40 k's an hour, but they do need to have someone that's qualified to change the sign. So providing they do that, we don't have a problem with that. So, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, just to comment on what you've just spoken about, that modelling from the Transport New South Wales on the low-level bridge closures I found to be quite fascinating. And yes, they have come up with a few different potential solutions. Just watching those little dots go across the screen and picturing those as cars, and yes, we perfectly understand where the jams are, but to actually see it on the screen and see which potential solutions could impact on what waiting times there were in certain areas, especially during the peak hours. It was quite fascinating and eye-opening to actually be able to see in figures what we experience sitting in our cars waiting around. So look, it'd be interesting to see what the staff come back with. It's not going to be ideal no matter what we do, but that we definitely can make some differences just at this stage by whether we put in right-hand turns or double lanes. There are definitely some improvements that we can make with what we currently have. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment or ask any questions? Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, full disclosure, I may have missed this. We had some discussion a while back, and we actually had a presentation here from Scott Vickery, just all the talk about the hospital and arrangements around the hospital. Reminded me again, we'd had some discussion about the height of the planting in the middle of that roundabout, and I thought we were going to go away and see if there were any options, but I haven't heard of anything since. Like I said, I might have missed it, but I don't know whether that is still on the agenda or not.
I'll let the director talk that, but the staff are still looking at that as far as I know. Correct, Director?
Yeah, through the chair, the Transport Forum agenda includes the action checklist, and that item's still on the action checklist. It's just not completed as yet.
Councillor Downing?
I didn't turn it off. Just wanted to say that, did building a bridge come up in any of the solutions? Just wondering.
When I asked, they had a gentleman that had done all this, and I did ask the question, and I got a fairly blunt no.
Right.
They didn't. That wasn't taken into account in any of the scenarios that they were putting in.
I see.
A new bridge wasn't part of what he'd been told to look at.
Right. Perhaps they should consider it then, because that might alleviate a lot of traffic at that corner of an afternoon. When I did school pickup on Wednesday, it was a nightmare. But I'd support the no right turn for anyone who has the audacity to turn right when I'm in that lane. So, yeah, go with it.
Councillor Watt.
Let's start a fight. Can I just clarify, is the no right turn onto Macquarie Street or onto Lachlan Street?
No, it's onto Lachlan Street towards the caravan park,
Yes,
so
correct.
turning south.
Yeah.
South onto Lachlan Street, which so that anyone wants to go to the caravan park would have to go around the block. Yeah. They did suggest that those vehicles would go around the Cowra Hotel and then under the bridge and come out that way. And we assured them that that's not how it works. They would go.
That would make it worse.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. But yeah, so they then decided that they would go up to Macquarie Street and turn right across the pedestrian crossing and then go round to the roundabout in Vaux Street, then back down to what used to be Clemes Corner, but I suppose I'm showing my age. It hasn't been Clemes for a long while, has it? It's the RDA shop there now on the corner, and then into the caravan park that way. So certainly they're not going to go under the bridge with their caravan, but.
Right. I think I was a bit confused later in the report. It refers to doing assessment on the pedestrian volume crossing South Kendall Street and Macquarie Street. What's the purpose of that, gathering that information?
Because they were going to move the traffic that was turning right at the bridge up to that intersection. So that was why they were going to look at that and how long a vehicle turning right there would have to wait, and because the pedestrian crossing controls a lot of that. So they're just looking to see what the repercussions are.
Yeah, right. Around the community, I'm hearing different things about hospital parking, that there is a lot of frustration about having to, particularly in this heat and the heat that's coming up next week, having to walk up the hill or park your car a reasonable distance away, and having a lot of impact on people getting to their appointments in time, particularly people going to allied health with children, trying to wrangle the kids up that hill and then around. And I think it's also, I've noticed a few people doing U-turns on that high at Brisbane Street and some not so safe driving. I think there are traffic concerns we do need to consider in that space, and perhaps we need to do a bit more monitoring around what's happening there, because I don't think it is as smooth as is being reported. Also following up on an item we've raised a few times but doesn't appear in the agenda, the investigation of a 40-kilometre main street. Has that been taken to Transport New South Wales?
Through the chair, that's on the action checklist as well, and in the agenda, I think where we provide progress reports if there's any available, so there's not actually a specific report item, but the technical team have been making multiple submissions to the TFNSW portal to try to establish whether the 40-kilometre zone in Kendall Street is warranted or not, and at this stage they don't appear to be very cooperative about actually letting us lodge the application, finding lots of little bureaucratic mistakes, but we'll keep trying.
Could I request in the future that action list be included in the minutes? Because I think we're often asking questions that would be answered by that being there.
Be advised also that Transport for New South Wales have a restructure on, and most of the staff there have had to apply for their jobs, and some of them are fairly certain they're now going to get their job. And some of them are husband and wife teams. The husband's going to get it and the wife's not, or vice versa, which is going to make, and they will be offered a job somewhere else, but the wife there and the husband there, morale's not real brilliant in parks at the moment. Any other questions on the Transport Forum? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I think it's pretty obvious. Transport for New South Wales, obvious concern for a second crossing at Cowra, or the third crossing, whatever it's going to be. You just got to work with what they're trying to do, but I think it'd be nonsensical to not have a right-hand turn coming off the bridge to go into Lachlan Street. It takes people that go that way just for the caravan park, but to get up to the schools and so forth, or get out of the main street earlier. But in their wisdom, but I think if they went round the corner and of the Cowra Hotel and take away that cement island up in front of Super Cheap Auto that cost 40-odd thousand for the developer to put in there, remove that and had a turning lane up the centre of it, similar to what the lane is in front of the Townhouse Hotel and the petrol station, where people can pull into the centre if they're going to turn either way. And I think people would get access into those businesses a lot easier, because the Transport for New South Wales haven't provided a roundabout anywhere to people to go past Super Cheap autoed, and do we go round a roundabout and come back down and enter that street, enter that shop legally? But who are we to make decisions when you've got a multi-billion-dollar bureaucracy in Transport for New South Wales that answers to no one? As far as the hospital parking is, it is a concern, and it's been raised with me. There's no footpath on the eastern side of the, I suppose you still call it Brisbane Street, going up alongside the hospital there for people to get out of their cars and have access into the facility. It's not good for people that are not the best at walking. And I think something should be done to try and improve it somewhat, even if we made it a shared block of land like what's in the Woolworths Street, and not that reduced to 10 kilometres an hour or something. Because if that's the only way to get into the hospital, it is a concern, and I don't know how long this demolition's going to carry on, but when they start taking the bricks down, it might even be closed, Liverpool Street, for safety and trucks and that getting out of there. So I think a lot more needs to be talked about this before it all comes to an abrupt halt and people just find they're losing access to that hospital or parking overnight, not be forewarned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright, and I take your point. It was always going to be a problem. There's no parking. It's all in. Some of it's around Bennelong Place, and it is a problem, but it was known that it was going to happen, and we will monitor it as I know the staff are looking at it. Once they start, as you say, pulling the bricks down, what's going to happen then? That's when we'll have to modify whatever it is we do. Anyone else got a question or want to make a comment? Okay, basically I don't need to write a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Passed. Thank you. 7.2, the Section 355 Committee Minutes, Sale Yards Committee. Councillor Watt?
I'd like to move a motion slightly different to this one that I circulated via email earlier, to include a second line to call on council to lobby for the restrictions on 35 metre B triple road trains to be reviewed.
It's been a chestnut for a while, and we've been to the department and they have said a flat no. I'll get the director to talk on it. I know Thompson's, the freight people, are trying to talk to them, but I don't think they're getting very far. We have lobbied Transport for New South Wales, and we got a flat no.
Right.
So
it was a request from the committee, so it's just that I don't think it was quite minuted correctly as a recommendation. So that's why I was suggesting that we add it to the motion itself, but I probably need a seconder before we talk to that.
Through the chair, I can give some advice. It was item 4.2 and on page 245. So the report that went to the Sale Yards Committee, I gave them the information from Transport for New South Wales, who are the roads authority for the state highway network, and who do the safety assessment of the road network to provide access. And they've done their technical assessment, and they've recommended that access not be granted. So I appreciate that there's members of the Sale Yards team who'd like to lobby TFNSW, but that puts council in a difficult position. Why are we lobbying that? Because their safety assessment, TFNSW's safety assessment is incorrect. That's probably not something that I would recommend we do. my advice would be I would give further information to the next Star Yards Committee on that item and suggest that the lobbying should come from some group like Freight for New South Wales or like an industry body rather than council, because if I put myself in the reverse position, I probably wouldn't like to make a technical assessment of our roads and have someone come over and say, no, we think you're wrong. Or anyway, that's how I see that item.
Thank you. I was just going to say I'm happy to withdraw that if the Sale Yards Committee representative is also happy with that response.
So you've withdrawn your recommendation?
I'm quite happy for it to be there.
For the amendment to be there? Okay. Yep.
So you...
then I'll keep it there.
You're going to leave it there? Okay. So... So you want to speak to it?
No, I'll second the recommendation.
Councillor Watt's recommendation? Yes. Okay, Councillor Watt.
Thanks. I'll defer my speaking time to Councillor Wright.
Councillor Wright.
Oh, well, she's passed the police and chattels. There's quite a few things that we discussed there. But we've got to maintain access for vehicles to our sale yards to either bring stock in or take stock out. And the sale yards on the major roads, the Newell Highway and Wagga's on the Olympic Way, but they come in off the Newell Highway somewhere and end up at Wagga. They have access to these B triples. And there mightn't be a lot of them used in our sale yards, but the problem is, once they're being used, the buyers of livestock like to use the cheapest form of freight they can, and if B triples are going to be the way to do it, they will want to use B triples. And if they can't get access here to Cowra, it makes it difficult. They might not come and might not bid, or if they're going to want them, the transport operator will have to break up the B triple at Forbes or somewhere and make 2 trips to Cowra to pick up the stock to take them back wherever they got to go. I appreciate the director's position, and it's not easy, but a lot of these are regional roads that they're coming on. The Lachlan Valley Way is a regional road. The Olympic Highway is a regional road. Lachlan Valley Way is a regional road. The Midwestern Highway is a regional road. And Transport for New South Wales accepts registration of these bigger vehicles, but they're not prepared to spend the money on getting access to these vehicles to the centres that need them. And for our sale yard to operate in an unconfined position, these B triples could be of assistance. They can pick up at Forbes, then come up and top up at Cowra, then go on further south to Goulburn or to Junee on the Olympic Highway and down to Wagga through to Mora, and everything's sweet. We weren't asked if these mini road trains, council wasn't asked if these mini road trains would cause any more damage to our roads, but they've proliferated since they've been granted permission, and the reason why that doesn't fit the livestock transport is getting stock from the back trailer to the front trailer, and so forth. But they'd be very close to the length of these B triples. you've got B triples coming out of admittedly they're on the M5 or M1 or whatever they are, or the M31 coming out of Sydney in a heap of traffic, but they seem to be able to operate down there. And we're just trying to get access to the routes. We're being disadvantaged because we aren't on the Newell Highway, and I don't know how much more money they spend on the Newell Highway and the others to make it any better than what our highways are. And there's certainly been a lot of accidents on the Newell Highway. But I think it's in our interests to help maintain our sale yard operation to have access for these bigger trucks. And as I said, it's not just the carrier wanting to do it, it's the consumer of the people that buy our product. Because once B doubles come in, they just wanted them. If you're selling direct or anything, or people buying out here, they had to buy a B double load. They didn't want to buy a single four deck load. It made it all the more harder to plan your loads and fill them up. So I think we've got a pretty good argument to get access for them, and if the road's not up to standard, well, they fix their regional roads with their money that they've already collected, and or they don't register these bigger trucks if they aren't prepared to let them go where they on the road network only on certain stretches. So that's why I think it's good to have it in that recommendation, because that's what the committee was after, and as chairman I feel that that's the intention of it. It wasn't just to give an operator a better way of using his vehicles, it was so that he can meet the demand of his customer. And we're all for supporting industry growth. In regards to other items on the draft meeting, the stock figures are holding up reasonably well. We're getting more some months than we did the year before, and then we're down a bit when we're usually a bit higher. But it's been, it is a difficult time, and once again, the sale yards on the Newell Highway and the bottom end of the Olympic Way and so forth taking precedence with livestock numbers. They've got these bigger trucks coming from other areas delivering stock, and some people are going out of our area to there because they think they might get a better price because there's bigger operators there. But we're holding our own, and we've got a good reputation of the stock we put through there. It was highlighted by when we had the hot weather and we moved to an earlier start, all the buyers turned up, and some of them even stayed in Cowra that night instead of going to Bathurst or not Bathurst, Orange or Blaney to stay before they went to Carcoar and then come to Cowra. That did work well. There was some thought that if we could start earlier during the summer, we make it a permanent thing, or even throughout the year. But Carcoar have indicated that they're not going to move from the earlier morning sale, so we could have an earlier sale. We'd have to still stay at our 11:30. But consideration might be given with this extreme heat, when extreme heat's happening. As it was said, the truck wash is bringing in above budget income. And we're looking at putting a third one there. We got an initial quote, but that, in fairness, that was, I think, the way I read the quote, it was for a truck wash going into a greenfield site that didn't have any of the existing infrastructure there that we might need. And hopefully it can be done cheaper than that, because at that price it might be going to be the cost-benefit ratio might be less than 1, and you can't do things in the local government scene unless it's above 1. But we're looking at that, trying to fit it in, and and to help balance the books. The canteen, they said it's coming in at number 4 in Australia. I take that because it was written down number 4 in the out of the top 10, so I didn't realise that. Well, I hope they're right, but I didn't realise it was in order of the way it was voted. It was voted by community input, most of the voting, I think, and we're in the ability group are quite chuffed at the award they got, and they got a right to be happy. They are providing a very good service there. Admittedly, it's only for 1 day a week, but it is open to the public for if they want to go there and have morning tea and lunch, and they will be catered for very well. The people in the sale yards are very happy with what's being provided, and we wish them well. I think that's about all. I'll take any questions. Thank you.
Anybody got any questions for Councillor Kiss?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, I wholeheartedly support the notion of the B triples having access to the sale yards, but I won't be able to support the amended recommendation. And the reason behind that is, as the directors said, it was the Transport for New South Wales have made that decision based on safety. It's not because of, they just don't want it there or they don't like the colour of the sale yard. It's none of that. It's because they've done their safety assessment, which we as a whole community rely on, and they've said, no, it doesn't fit within the safety standards. It doesn't mean to say I don't want it to occur, but what I think is that I would rather see the committee and the staff spend their time and energy lobbying for roads that will accommodate a B triple safely. So I know it's a bit of a horse and a cart issue, but I don't see the point in lobbying against something they've already said is a hard and fast no, because it actually, within the rule book, it doesn't fit. The numbers don't equate. So not only do I not see the point, but also if Transport for New South Wales had said no, well, I wouldn't feel very comfortable in their decisions if they then go and say, oh, yeah, well, maybe, because then I'd be thinking, well, their safety standards obviously aren't very standard. So that's the area that concerns me. If there was to be some sort of rewording of an amendment, perhaps about the angle of the lobbying, potentially, but just to come back and say we need to lobby to allow them there based on the current road standards, I can't support it in that way. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Horton?
Yeah, just a question. Do we have a sense of the quantum? Like what could the impact be if these B triples, can't get access? Do we know like what impact that'll have?
I've got no idea what the impact would be, other than that some people mightn't operate here and they might operate here. It's most of them will operate here because we've got good sheep, but good lambs and so forth. But it's just fairness to the operators, and to the industry, that if they're going to let bigger trucks in a certain area, I can't see why it can't come in on these regional roads or highways, whatever they like to call them. I presume they say because they're not dual lane roads, but a lot of the Newell Highway is not a dual lane road either. And it's not a quantum, it's hard to know what a quantum thing is, but see operators here, they can't bring road trains in past Forbes, so they break up the road trains and bring them in, and then they take them out in 2 shifts, and that they make the effort because they've got to take stuff in road trains further to Queensland and so forth. It's just a bit of convenience and common sense that they're accepting registration for these vehicles, but then restricting where they can drive. And if you've got a 5 metre shorter one, you can get a permit. The trouble with the PBS level 2 requirements is the truck and all that's got to be hooked up to a database, and if that truck's required to go somewhere else and it's not going to take a B triple, you just can't pull another truck on it and take the B triple somewhere else. It hasn't got the PBS. It gives the Transport for New South Wales 24/7 access to where that vehicle is, and so forth. But I can't give you a dollar figure or anything. It's just making a bit more level of playing field. We've got room at the sale yards for them to load, to back in and load. They don't appear to be a big thing at the moment, but there's more and more of them getting around. So we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Councillor Watt.
Thanks. I wanted to suggest some amended wording to change it to calls on council to lobby for Transport for New South Wales to investigate options to improve road quality to create a safe path for 35-metre B triple road trains to connect to Cowra from Forbes. Yeah, sorry.
You accept that, Councillor, right? Right. Okay. Right of reply, Councillor Watt. Oh, sorry. No. We've got Councillor Downing.
Sorry, I was in the lead sleep, but no. I was just going to reiterate what councillors have said, especially Councillor Wright. If we have got the salespeople and producers telling our committee, we've also got them on our committee saying that that is what they would like going forward. I think we should listen to them. They're in the industry and they know what they're talking about, so I'd be guided by them, and if that's what they would like, I think we might be able to support them.
Yeah, Councillor Horton wanted to know a quantum thing, and I'm like Councillor Wright, I can't give him one, but you don't have to be Einstein to know that the freight component is factored in when they buy the sheep. They factor in a freight component, and the dearer the freight is, the less they bid for the sheep. So makes it less attractive, but not just here. Carcor is in the same boat, but Forbes isn't, so they have the advantage. They can pay a little bit more for the sheep at Forbes because they can amortise the freight. So that's probably the bottom line. Right of reply, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you to all my councillors for the good discussion here. I think it is a challenging issue in that we clearly want to support our sale yards, and we know that we have a really high quality sale yards with high quality infrastructure, and we know that we have the best lamb in the country, maybe in the world, and we want people to come and get it. So, but I think, obviously there is the addition, of course, of how we make that connection and how we manage that on our roads. And I think Councillor Wright absolutely hit it on the head, that if the road quality isn't up to scratch, then let's get it there. And that may be, not on the existing state road, it may be on a different road. There's, already roads that the trucks use to bypass all the traffic, and maybe there's some consideration of how we manage that there. And I think landing on a focus on the road quality and getting that up to a standard is a good step forward, and balances out what the director's noted here. And I think we'd have a good argument. We are the connector spot for 5 highways. We want our roads to be at that quality where they can sustain these trucks with, we're the connector of lots of agricultural bases, and we want to be able to support our providers. So I just want to thank Councillor Wright for giving us that background, because I think that really helps us in figuring out what the committee are trying to achieve here.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Passed. Thank you. 8.1 is an application for the Access Incentive Scheme grant, Cowra Information and Neighbourhood Centre. Being 11 Bow Street, Cowra. Can I have a mover? Would that be Councillor Watt? Councillor Wright. Thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's great to see our community facilities looking at ways to improve accessibility of their buildings. I did raise a few questions with the director, unfortunately, after the timeline where we circulate our paperwork. So just for our community, I've clarified that this building is not owned by council and it's privately owned by Sync, and that the proposed addition of the handrail at the back and the works at the back were not required under the DA, and that there is a ramp entrance to the back of the building in existence, but the proposal here is to add the handrail to help with the stairs, which I think is quite reasonable. I appreciate our director's recommendation here that we focus just on the two parts of the application, removing the kind of granite pad as part of the project, as I think that would fit within the kind of scope that the applicant should have, if they wanted to do, should have done within the broader DA and expansion of the back. Otherwise, in relation to that, I think I'm not sure how our policy works with, they are two different entrances and perhaps two different projects, but I guess they're on the same land, so we can treat them the same. But I think the assessment here is quite reasonable in terms of what fits within the scope, but still working with the applicant to get the best outcome.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, thank you. I presume you credit the granite pads separate to what the concrete and the handrails are, that the granite pad's not needed as foundations for the concrete ramp.
Through the chair, it's a totally different section and it's more of a landscaping provision than an actual accessibility mechanism.
Thank you. I support this. They do try hard. They seem to pop up everywhere, a bit like Patterson's Curse, but bright and beautiful. But they're a major player in the town for disability support and that, and if they've got a building and their clients need to get into it, if we can help them, they can. I was a bit surprised when reading further down, as suppose it's not relevant to this, but we've issued $20,000 worth, approved $20,000 worth of work, but it hasn't been carried out. Is there any reason for that?
Through the chair, the works that have been approved through multiple different organisations have been staggered according to the ability to provide trades to those, but we have had one extension of time request and the works have just been completed. So they are gradually doing it.
Thank you, and I support this recommendation. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing?
Yep, I support this. I actually would have supported the granite pad as well, so I take the feedback, but my research says that granite landing pads and steps are excellent durable and aesthetic choice for creating accessible pathways, entryways. So my question is it part of an entryway? Will it help with the entryway? Because that is actually recognised as something that would be help accessibility.
Through the chair, it's not actually part of the entryway. It's a separate section as you go down the stairs to the left. It doesn't actually form an entrance to part of the entry to the building.
Okay, so it wouldn't be used for wheelchairs and that kind of thing to access that pathway? Okay. Yep.
Councillor Watt?
Sorry, if I could just ask a question on that. Is the existing ramp at the back entrance, does it have a concrete path to the driveway?
Yes, it does.
Anyone else wish to comment?
A question, please.
Yep.
The application said it's a front entrance, but someone's talking about a back entrance. Am I lost or what?
It works to the front and to the rear of the building as well.
Thank you.
Right, a reply, Councillor Watt. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you. We'll move to 8.2, the footpath trading policy. Councillor Watt.
I'd like to move a motion that changes the date to 31st of December 2026.
Do I have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Downing, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I would. Thank you very much. So as discussed last year, we have a number of operators conducting retail footpath trading, but not having applied for permits to do so. And the estimate from the staff is that there are currently around 40 operators who have some form of footpath trading without having an application. I'm sure as well, if the rules were a little bit clearer, some people would also like to look into footpath trading if they haven't already. We know that the application process is cost prohibitive and quite a complicated process, and I really want to thank the department for properly reviewing and picking up that actually there was another cost that was going to be put on our applicants to have an inspection fee, which I think was around $300. So I really want to thank them for picking that up. When this change was proposed by the CBD committee, the conversation in the room, and it was expected that the CBD committee would be able to start going out and talking to retailers at the beginning of the year. But as the staff have been doing the review to make sure it's all compliant and that we're covering all the pieces, that timeline has of course been delayed. And the staff, I imagine, are not going to start going out until at least March. But we know obviously they've got a lot of other stuff on as well. So I think it's a really important item, and I know the committee are very excited about it. And I think it's a really great way for us to kind of close a loop in compliance and safety in the main street, but also support our businesses to create a really vibrant main street. So I think we should give it the appropriate time required to make sure that the committee and the staff can go out and work with people to do it. Of course, someone will put in an application, the staff will then need to inspect it. So it is quite a timely process. I think expecting it to happen within 3 months is probably unrealistic. So that's why I'm proposing for it to be expanded. As I said, I think this is a really great impact. The report here does show a budgetary implication of a loss of around $27,000 in income for waiving those fees. But I think it's important to recognise that the way we've been doing it in the past hasn't resulted in those 40 people putting forward their application. So while it is a reduction in $27,000, if we were able to get every single one of those to put in compliant applications in the next couple of months, in reality, it's probably going to result in a higher income in our ongoing annual fees, because we will hopefully have a number of people now in place. And once people have taken part, they will be required to do those annual fees, and I think pay an inspection fee once every 5 years. Is that correct? Or every 1 year. So there will be significant funds coming through each year. If we are able to it would be great if we could get 40 more applicants. That will add up to quite a bit over the coming years. We're very lucky to have very wide footpaths which enable shopholders to have footpath training, whether that be furniture for a cafe, items for sale, or signs to indicate that they are open. But we can ensure that we can do that without restricting pedestrian mobility. The rules around footpath trading are that it needs to allow 2 metres of footpath, and I think in reality most people's footpath trading they have in place goes well above that. So that's really fantastic. Footpath trading was an issue that was initially highlighted to us through the Cowra CBD activation workshops, the Cowra Can Do community, and plans that many people in the community participated in. And I think this solution is a real testament to the benefit of our Section 355 committees, including the CBD committee, that they can kind of provide that on the ground voice for what's happening and how things are working and what the barriers might be to it happening. And I really want to make sure we give that committee and the staff the opportunity to really see this opportunity through and give it a good ground. I think it will still, by the time everyone gets together to start rolling that out, it will still be a fairly set timeline in terms of when people need to put in the application for it to be assessed, to be able to come back in that time period before the end of the calendar year, but allows it to be reasonable and not to get anyone caught out. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Downing.
Agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Watt that the time frame has been shortened from what I imagined it would be when we first discussed it, and more than happy to support it going to December. We already have 40 identified people who aren't following the rules that we've got in place now. If we can encourage them to do that by December, that'll give us more time, and I think that'll work better.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Kiss.
A couple of questions for the Director through the Mayor, if I may. Just as a clarification, if the business's application was lodged prior to the 30th of the 6th, so even if it hadn't been assessed or no inspection done or anything, so just simply putting in that piece of paper, would they still be exempt? Would the fees still be waived?
Councillor Wright, can you turn yours off?
That I'd have to take that on notice, or that it's something that would be determined by council as part of this report.
And just a second question, is it intended that the staff would actually make contact with every business, and within what time frame, being that we're now at the end of February?
We've already started. We've started liaising with those, with several in the street already, and we've already done an audit. That's how we know that there's 40. So we will be going back and speaking with them individually.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? I just say that I think we've got 4 months between now and the 1st of July. I would have thought that was plenty of time to get this sorted out. But that's just my thoughts on it. Right, a reply, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for people's thoughts. I think it's great the team have started going out. I had presumed they wouldn't start talking about what we were going to offer before it was approved in the chamber, and obviously people won't have been able to take that up before then. We won't be meeting again as a CBD committee for a couple of weeks, and they're quite keen to start communicating it through different models, including the business chamber. I think there's no point putting up unnecessary barriers to our community to participating in this. If we're kind of asking questions around this, and I think if we do create a short timeline, it'll have to come back to us and we'll have to debate, at what point and in your application do you have to be before you get cut off? What happens if you didn't include something, so you've got to resubmit your application? I just think the point of this is to get our community doing it. Let's not put barriers. Let's set some realistic timelines to make it happen. We know our staff does a lot of wonderful things and a lot of big things. I just don't think I think we're quibbling at numbers if we're saying there has to be this hard deadline of end of financial year for no apparent reason.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried. Thank you. Late reports. Nine point 1 draft section 355 committee minutes, CBD committee minutes of the 18th of February 2026. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Watt, Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Watt.
Thanks. The councillors will remember at the end of last financial year, we let them know that Martina Lindsay had resigned from the committee as she was moving to Tasmania. And we have also received a resignation from Mark McLeish from the CBD committee in the last little while. I think everyone around the chamber probably knows Mark and knows how committed or overcommitted he is to all parts of the community, and he sent through a letter to the committee noting that he really supported the ongoing efforts of what we're doing, but with his work and his other commitments he was unable to take part. He'd been a fairly absent member but really wanted to be part of it in the room, and so I think he'd come to the point in the new year, as we often do when we reflect when we're on holidays, that he couldn't make it work. But we're very excited to, of course, thank Mark for his time. He's been with us since the very beginning and was a really useful part in building our CBD activation plan, and it's great to know that we've also got him in the community advocating for what we do. And I'm very excited that we've got 2 new members to propose to council for adoption. Anel Date is proposed to take the business representative position. Anel, as I'm sure many of you know, runs Little Magpie Gallery. She's a big supporter of artists in our community, hosting lots of workshops and trainings, as well as highlighting local artists in her exhibitions. And she was also a member of the Can Do committee at the beginning, so I think that's a really a good connection to bring her back into the committee and to make sure that art voice and the creative voice continues to be represented. Then we're proposing Bill Nixon as a community representative. Bill's a young dad who is very passionate about playgrounds and urban designs. I was sharing with Councillor Horton earlier that along with his wife, they run an Instagram page where they are dedicated to their travels in regional Australia, where they highlight, CBDs they find really exciting or playgrounds they find really exciting. So I think he's going to bring a really good energy to the committee. He's also, in his day job, a production manager at CSG Cowra, where he manages daily operations on site, from inventory control to training and recruitment of staff. And safety at work is a really important part of what he does. So I think that's a really useful skill to bring to a committee. And it'll also be his first council committee if approved tonight. And I think it's really great that the CPD committee is seeing a lot of people step up to be part of committees, because we all know we're constantly on the search for new people or more people to jump in. We also talked, as people know from the conversation, what the CBD committee discussed at our last meeting was the CBD maintenance procedures, which is a priority of this financial year's CBD activation plan, as well as our beginning a conversation about reviewing council procurement options, particularly about how we can communicate with our local operators to make sure they're getting those opportunities, and we're supporting local wherever we can. The committee has 2 additional recommendations they'd like to make based on conversations about spending business assistance budget that came up. One was to investigate options for line marking in car spaces in Kendall Street. I think everyone sees all the time the interesting versions of a 45-degree angle or in between those painful dots. And so the committee wanted to ask council to look at options of whether that be full lines or some options to make that parking a little bit more structured and clean and be able to fit more people in the main street. We also put forward a recommendation to call on the council to include the Macquarie Street Master Plan as a major priority while developing the next IP&R documents. This is one that's been in our strategic plan for a while, but it isn't one we've budgeted for as council, and so we are waiting grant funding. And I think the general feeling has been that we're unlikely to get grant funding to write the plan. We're much more likely to get grant funding to implement the action, which I think we see in lots of other all of the other things that we do. We generally do the master plans in-house. So as always, it was a very energetic, insightful committee, and we're busy. We're talking about lots of things, and I think it's a great opportunity for our staff and our councillors to be informed about what's happening locally and make sure our actions and how we're considering that are connected to what's really happening on the ground. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to propose an amendment to the recommendation 5 in particular. Should I continue?
What would your amendment be?
That council consider including the Macquarie Street Master Plan as a major priority when developing the 2026-27 operational plan and budget.
You're happy with that? Okay.
Yep.
So
If I can just...
the mover.
What's the difference?
Well, one says you will, and the other one says you'll consider. 5. That council include the Macquarie Street Master Plan as a major priority when developing the 2026-27 operational plan and budget. Councillor Kiss's amendment is that council consider including the Macquarie Street Master Plan. Councillor Watt has accepted that, yes?
I'll just speak to it briefly, and thank you, Councillor Watt. The CBD committee does amazing things, and I do want the Macquarie Street Master Plan to happen. There's absolutely no debating any of that. It's just that I think to put it in here and put it in concrete form to say we will include it is really, backing ourselves into a corner, because I think, we've got the reviews coming up, and I think, it'd be more responsible for us to look at it holistically at all of our priorities, so we can say, either yes, we want this to happen yet, or according to our budget, we actually can't quite do it yet. But I certainly support the ideal of it, but I'm just not ready to put it in concrete to commit to it without looking at the rest of our operational plan. So thank you very much for accepting that.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
With due respect to Councillor Kiss, this council's got to make decisions about doing something sometime, and these master plan things have been on the books for quite some time, and Macquarie Street has been identified as the next thing on the list, and I think we just need to make a decision to do it. And when you start mentioning holistic, there's that many things come in there, it gets diverted, and we lose sight of what the next step should have been. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Watt. Sorry, I didn't.
It was a bit slow. I would agree that with Councillor Wright that we need to put it in there. It was addressed by the community when we had our Can Do Cowra Day, and it is in the plan. And I think that maybe we should make a commitment to actually get it done. And while we're considering it, there are so many other things to consider that I think it's like this, the plans for the sporting grounds that was put into the budget, and we got that in, and it's now being done. So I think that it's very important that we do it instead of just talking about doing it, because we have been talking about doing it for quite some time. So I would agree that we should add it, not consider.
Councillor Watt, right a reply.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Kiss is probably right in the procedure of council committees, whether they can demand something or not. Generally, we get the, can you go to Transport for New South Wales? Can you go to the Transport Forum to investigate it? It's probably that we put these minutes together very quickly so we can get them out to you for our new committee members. But I would definitely, I'm going to hold you all to these words when we start talking about IPNR to make sure that the Macquarie Street Master Plan is funded in our plans going forward, and the CBD committee will as well.
Thank you. I put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. 9.2, queries on this agenda, which are in your late notes there, as they're presented. Councillor Wright, thank you. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Wright.
Yeah, I find it pretty straightforward. My name's mentioned there to the question I asked, so I presume it's 100% accurate. Thank you.
Councillor Horton.
As always, grateful to councillors that ask the questions, but equally, of course, grateful to staff for providing responses in a timely manner with as much detail as they can. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply. Councillor Wright.
No need, thank you.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 9.3, the extraordinary council meeting of the 23rd of February 2026, which is the one we did at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We can all remember that. Councillor Horton, Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Horton.
Yes, I was here. Might just be me, but it feels like a long time ago. A very good discussion. Again, some good work done by staff to present options. We now have an opportunity to reduce the interest rate at which we have a couple of loans, and thereby, even after factoring in some quite significant loan break fees, the banks don't miss, we still end up in front. So I think that's well-directed effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
It's a pretty significant move that council made there this afternoon in trying to rein in our loan repayment schedule, and I'm not 100% convinced of it, but at least we're trying. At least those that voted for it are trying to improve things, and it's a stepping stone to better loan management in the future. And I think the biggest thing we need to manage in the future is the length of some of these loans.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Horton, right of reply.
Not required. Thank you.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Are there any urgent matters for motions without notice? Okay, we'll go to item 10, confidential matters. 11.1, request for tender. RFT 92025, full service heavy patching local and state roads 2026-27. And 11.2, request for tender RFT S3 2025, supply and delivery of concrete stormwater drainage pipes. These matters are considered to be confidential under section 10A2DI of the Local Government Act, and the Council is satisfied the discussion of these matters in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest, as they deal with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. Can I have them? L1. Oh, right. We also have L1. Disposal of 1 Burke Street, Cowra. It's file number D26265, and the Council is satisfied that pursuant to section 10A2 of the Local Government Act of 1993, the information to be received, discussed or considered in relation to this agenda item is information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the Council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. Can I have a mover for all three of those? Councillor Horton, Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Horton?
No, not required, thank you.
Councillor Watt? Anyone wish to comment? Right a reply, Councillor Horton?
Not needed, thanks.
All those in favour? Pass, thank you.